Talk. Warren, Aaron, man, we've taken a hiatus, haven't we?
We're back from break, baby.
Just in time to go into the holiday season. I'm Warren, that's Aaron. This is Movie Talk. Welcome back. We've missed you. And on today's episode of Movie Talk, we are going to be discussing Shang-Chi. Finally, we're talking about this film. I have nothing but good things to say. Without a spoiler, I really, really enjoyed this flick. And I'm just at this point being pulled through the MCU just to see what happens next. I'm so not invested, but I'm delightfully entertained.
Honestly, I'm right there with you because it just, I don't know, after Endgame, everything feels like it's just icing on the cake, but there's already icing on the cake. So they're just double stacking, it's like fondant now. Now it's like too much. But I'm okay with it. If it tastes good. I think I was a fan of Shang-Chi. But I have some complaints.
I don't know enough about it to complain, but the reveal of the 10-ring Mandarin dragon, I was like pleasantly surprised by that. But other than that, I don't have any context for the story, but it's great to see it tie into like Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. I thought at one point it tied in a little too much, but we can get into that when we get into spoiler territory. Even though this is coming out on Disney Plus like next week, Is
it? Oh, I already assumed like people were already watching it, and we're not spoiling anything for it. You're tuning into a movie podcast. If you're, let me just save you some time. If you're wondering whether or not you should see this movie, I think I'm going to say yes. I know I'm going to say yes. It's worth your time. Venom, on the other hand.
Oh my god! Can we get into what we're watching now? That's okay.
Let's. And now we're moving into the segment. Aaron, what are you watching?
Yes. Oh no. Well, I'll get to some pop culture-y shows in a minute. I think you can guess, but I really want to hear your thoughts on Venom. I have to hear you talk about that shit, and I mean shit.
It's what. It felt like what the old Spider-Mans used to be.
Like the 90s
Tobey
cartoon
Maguire,
one?
No, Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man stuff. Like it felt very silly and shitty and stupid, but I feel like they needed to do this one just to get the gobbledygook out of the way in preparation for the larger universe that they're building. The best part about it was the end, right?
The after credits or the actual fight?
The after credits. No, the actual fight was just like a CGI mess.
That's so fucking funny.
Right? It's like you're instead of watching two like CGI Iron Man suits, you're watching two like squiggly lines fight each other, and it's just like Woody Harrelson didn't really like carry it as much as I thought. Carnage was nowhere near as devastating as I thought he was going to be for as big a deal as he was in the comics. It was attempted to be funny. In some parts it was funny.
I could count 3 scenes.
I did like the villain's girlfriend.
Really?
With her power.
I thought that was a little
conversation. It was absolutely forced. But her like ability I enjoyed. And then it's like if she does that again, she's dead.
It looked really cool, like how they did it, like with her hair blowing in the wind and it kind of shaking throughout the cage, like you could see the sound waves and everything. But I would say this movie, because I saw it too, and in French I think it's "There will be a carnage" or something. Like it gets mistranslated. I just find that fact funny. But for Venom 2 is what I call it. It's just, I think I would disagree that the Sam Raimi films are bad. They've aged. They have a campiness to them that I appreciate. Oh wait, what?
No, they're not. I'm there with you. I mean, they are definitely a timestamp, right? And I feel like
because the first one looks like it's got Power Ranger.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. The second one, though, I think the action is still holds up. And the third one, I only gave it credit. Like, if you erased Venom out of the Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, I think it'd be fine. The movie would be fine. You'd have Sandman, which was a more emotionally engaging story, and his struggle with, I don't know, being like a hothead, getting a big head as Spider-Man, making out with Gwen Stacy on stage. But that's a different movie. Regardless, I don't think for Venom, it was slightly better than the first one. And you could tell that they poured most of their budget into the special effects. But this movie, both of them are so incoherent with their storytelling. Like, characters are idiots and they don't do realistic things I feel anyone would do in that situation. Like,
we can't expect this movie to have any sort of realistic, I don't know. For instance, this is how you can tell it's like really badly written, right? who doesn't like Tom Hardy? Who doesn't like Woody Harrelson? Who doesn't like Riz
Yeah.
Ahmed? Right? And this movie
Yeah.
still is awful.
Yeah, they're
Right? Like
all
you
such
couldn't give
talented
them.
actors.
Yeah, it's like just give them something to work with, and like this thing might survive. But again, stomachable due to the spoiler at the end credit scene, which like I'm getting excited for because in the new Spider-Man, have you seen the trailer?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Everyone's
At
talking
the
about that.
end, the multiverse. So Doctor Strange, Spider-Man team up, accidentally rift the multiverse, and now you've got all of these Spider-Man villains descending
Yeah,
on current Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
I'm
And that I
incredibly
think
hyped
it
for that.
yeah, same. I think that's going to be sort of like an end game scenario with, Spider-Man, Venom together, but also Morbius might be in that universe as well. Have you seen the Morbius trailers?
That's the weird part because it's a little confusing with Morbius specifically because he's technically in the Venomverse because he's in Sony, but Venom just jumped out of the Venomverse into the MCU, and I guess they're gonna leave together now. Like Venom and Spider-Man are gonna leave together, or he's just gonna hop into Sony's bucket because
Whatever the rights are and however they hop, there was a Spider-Man reference in the Morbius trailer. As
yeah.
he's like walking out of an alley, there's a Tom Holland Spider-Man poster on the wall.
No, I think
Also,
that was Tobey
Mike,
Maguire.
no,
Really?
because there's a
I bet my life.
conversation that happens between Michael Keaton's Vulture and Morbius,
Hmm.
like a little quick "Hey Doc" or something silly like that. Let me make sure I'm not pulling
Yeah,
hog
look it up.
pies out of my bum.
Well, because
Morbius,
I only think
Vulture.
it was no. I'm sure the Vulture's conversation is right, but I think they're just doing the multiverse. They're really doubling down on it everywhere, whether it's good or bad. And I think that poster was Tobey Maguire because it was a specific pose that just was only something he did.
Nope.
From the posters. Really?
So confirmed. Michael Keaton has now confirmed what we had all expected regarding his role in the upcoming Sony Morbius. Michael Keaton confirms his return as Vulture in Morbius. He's in that universe. And I don't think story-wise, right? If MCU is like doing their own thing, I don't think it makes too much of a rift there because at that point, the doctor was like trying to cure his own ailment and like help children is what they're setting it up. So it doesn't turn into an Eternals where you're like, well, where the fuck have you been? Right? Like
Yeah.
the world,
We
like,
had
oh my
rules where
God,
we couldn't.
you care about humans, but like this whole, like, what the fuck? Now
It's like
you're
the
coming
Captain
out of the
Marvel
woodwork?
question. It's like
Yeah,
same with
basically.
Captain Marvel. Like what?
Less
You're a
so
god?
Captain Marvel. You can basically throw her away and be like she's flying through the stars. But like Thor's been here on multiple occasions. He's got a girlfriend here, right? He's like, where have you been, man? You flying around with the Asgardians of the galaxy? That's a cop out, actually.
You've been ignoring us this whole time?
Yeah, seriously, man.
Okay, I think we were talking about different things. You're right in its homecoming, but there's a poster on the wall, like spray painted on the wall of Mobius in the trailer.
It's a wheat pasted poster, and it's got murderer scrawled on it.
Yeah, and that one,
Yeah,
that's the Tobey Maguire one I was talking about. But
is that Toby? I don't think that's Toby. I'm pretty sure that's the Tom Holland Spider-Man.
bro, look it up right now. Morbius Spider-Man
So
poster from trailer. Ah, damn it.
okay. So let's just say then it is the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. The Tobey Maguire poster Spider-Man pulled into current MCU because this is current MCU. The Vulture is in it, right? Confirmed.
Yeah.
This is current MCU. There's been a lot of speculation because all of the other Spider-Man villains are coming back, and then you've got Jamie Foxx coming back as Electro. Right,
that's the one I'm most skeptical about.
That's Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, right? So if you're pulling villains from other universes, I really hope that they bring Toby and Garfield back in to do a multiverse Spider-Man. That's what I hope.
I totally think it has to happen, like in No Way Home, like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield show up. Because if it doesn't at this point, how much hype is behind it? Fans are gonna rage. They're gonna lose their shit.
Pissed. Yeah. I'm even like, can they fit in an animated Miles Morales somewhere in here? Like people just kind of poke fun at it. Like you're 2D. Like what is this? Yeah. Like I hope
get him in there.
It'll be like the Paula Paula Abdul video. 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Everyone's like interacting with like animated fucking the Tom and Jerry. What's the guy's name? Fucking whatever. You know what I'm talking
It looks exactly like the PS4. Like Miles Morales just came out, like Spider-Man PS4, like just stepped off.
I'm not saying you don't have the tools to do it. You totally can. What else
Yeah,
you been
Looney Tunes
watching?
back in action. Okay, so a lot of things. I'm going to talk about shows. It feels like shows is a good section of this. What are you watching to
Before,
talk about? Hmm?
well, we'll
I
get
want
to
to
the
know.
shows, but DC fandom recently happened and they released a whole bunch
Oh
of
yeah,
trailers,
yeah. This
right?
is a
A
good
whole
thing to
bunch
talk
of
about.
things and updates. Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman, which
Oh
is looking
yeah,
pretty good.
Rob
The Penguin,
Pattinson.
the Penguin, one of the main villains, and also the Riddler. You've
Mm-hmm.
got shit.
The dude from
Zoe
Westworld being
Kravitz.
Detective Gordon. Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny that you know him as the dude from Westworld because I know that actor is the actor who played Basquiat in the biop in the yeah, I think it's a biopic. I don't know what the right term is, but he's been in a lot of stuff. He was also the CIA agent in Casino Royale, right? He's in the Bond
Recognize
verse.
that too. Yeah.
He's a solid actor. He also plays like an OG, super OG gangster in prison, who's like been in jail for his entire life and is like trying to cope with getting out and also
I
like
have to.
mentoring young guys coming in. I haven't seen it, but I want to see it.
Yeah, what show is that? Because he's such a good actor, but he's always so
Mhm.
reserved and like, professional. But
Yeah,
so that to see him in like a prison environment, that I gotta see him do that. He's such a good
yeah.
actor. He's
I
also
want
the
to see if he can
Watcher.
pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
He's also what?
The Watcher from Marvel What If.
Oh,
Like he
that he
voices
does. He
him.
voices the Watcher.
Yeah.
This guy's making so much money hand over fist. He is in the A-list fucking category. More
He's set
power
for
to him.
life.
But
Mm-hmm.
DC fandom with Batman, they also released a new Flash trailer, which I guess I'm excited about.
I'm glad you
And
say it
I'm
that way.
excited
Yeah.
about it because there are rumors that well, you see Power Girl, well, Supergirl in the
Oh
Flashverse
yeah.
at the end of it in the Batcave, and that Batcave is
I missed that. Oh,
heavily skewed, or the aesthetic of that Batcave looks a lot like Michael Keaton's Batman.
I heard about that.
So
Mm-hmm.
he might be traveling through times and realities, tying together all of the fucking different things in the same way that Peter Parker and the multiverse of Tom Holland is done. And I'm okay with that, even if it's just like winks and nods as they go through the time and like appear and flash in and out of stuff. But if
Yeah.
they could do that, that adds a crazy dimension to their relationship with Batman v Superman, and it also adds a
From
moment to the interaction when they first meet, because I'm like, all right, so Bruce Wayne is a hell of a detective and he finds this layer with this kid in it and he's looking at the suit and he, you're pretty convinced that this is Barry Allen in the Flash.
yeah.
To throw a bat star at him, you have to be fucking certain, right? Because
Yeah.
if that isn't Barry Allen, you are screwed.
Oh, he's
Um,
so dead. I blinded a kid.
but yeah, but so having that, instance of each other, knowing each other, and sort of filling each other in on what's happening throughout time, like I can see that they have that like time hop relationship, and that's actually
Yeah.
really cool. That allows you to play a lot with your imagination. But when the Flash and Whedon's Justice League comes through and says like, warns him about Batman and sort of like the injustice timeline,
Yeah.
you were right about him, like fear him. And he's like, wait, am I too soon? Like, oh crap, we haven't met yet. Find us, Bruce. You have to find us. I love everything about that. As a kid, I grew up more on the DC side. I barely remember as much, but that's really what I'm excited for, even though I think Ezra Miller's kind of a tool. I'm really
Yes.
excited for the Flash.
I'm really conflicted about that because he's such a brat on sets. Like he's a diva. I've heard from like reviews from cast members, and he just like really like shuts people out and then goes to his dresser and is just like fuck off. It's a little messed up. But whatever. I'm gonna just review the trailer.
As
um,
long as you do your job, you would think that that is
yeah.
sufficient to like. I'm okay as long as the end result, fine. Get him his trailer, like do whatever, leave him alone or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Ed Norton is like similarly a diva, I've heard. I don't know if he's gotten better over time, but
Well,
that
that's why he
kind of
left the
screwed him out
MCU.
of the Hulk, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like no one wants to work with that guy for like 6 films. Are you kidding me?
It
Yeah.
seemed what I've heard the difference between is that Ezra Miller's a little more closed off, and I guess a little passive aggressive, but with Edward Norton, he just likes to take control of his projects.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he likes to he'd be really involved in the writing and how it's being presented. So when Marvel's not going to handle that crap. They're you're done.
No.
If you're trying to
They're
take
not going to
control of the
deal with
movie.
that.
Edgar Wright left, I'm surprised James Gunn got what he got. Because those stand out in my mind visually. But I'm conflicted in another way because a lot of studios do the Flashpoint paradox thing. Well, at least the CW shows, and then their animation department did it when they wanted to reset how they were doing the animated movies. And I've just seen it a lot. So but I do like the fact that Michael Keaton is the voice in this trailer, like speaking to him. I love the small allusions to the cave being Michael Keaton, Batman's cave. That's really like, I didn't even notice that upon the first time. And then I looked that up later. I think I'm excited for it. I think I'm more excited for the Batman trailer with Robert Pattinson, but I think this is probably where the DCU might kick off for me. See, like I love the ideas from Man of Steel and from BVS and from Joss Whedon Justice League, way more Zack Snyder Justice League, but both still have faults. Regardless, I love what they did with that, but I think most of them didn't really get like a high Rotten Tomato score. They were like mixed reviews, and I know that's not a lot of weight, but like the studios are looking at that stuff. So they're looking at the reviews of it, because otherwise they would have continued the Snyderverse, or tried to, but it felt like they just kind of started doing their own things with Wonder Woman, and Aquaman was his own thing. If you try and put Aquaman back into Justice League now, it's hilarious. You know what I mean? Because he's just like this what, and then the Rock plays when he looks over his shoulder.
So I think that you absolutely can fit Aquaman. I didn't think Aquaman was terrible. It's not bad.
It was funny,
but I think the Justice League the DC universe has an aesthetic problem, right? Like you couldn't shuffle these universes in together visually if you tried. You might as well just completely dump Suicide Squad and just like not even, that's happening on another planet in another universe. Like there's no reason that Harley exists in the same universe as Superman. Like I can't see that at all. That's a hard pill to swallow.
What's she gonna do with just a bat against him?
But I mean that's who she is. But at the same time, you're not. The first Suicide Squad had so much potential, especially with like Enchantress, which is like a super powerful witch.
But I never had faith in Cara Delevingne. I've never seen her in a good role, so maybe my hopes weren't as high for that.
I don't think that casting was great. I also don't like, the expanding of like the campy version of the DC universe with like the new Peacemaker. I could deal without that. I mean, yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a great, fun movie. But how do these? And Peacemaker's kind of like a bullshit character anyway.
Exactly.
Like, there's no way he's gonna keep up with anything. But I don't really think that they thought this through.
That's the vibe I got from Man of Steel. Like after that, it felt like it was just hitting. Like their movies weren't really.
The first 3 movies, I was really excited for because like it was making sense, and especially at the end of Man of Steel, at the beginning of Batman v Superman, where you see like, this is like Wayne Enterprises destroyed. This is a lot of collateral damage. And that's one of the biggest issues that I have with the MCU is like they don't talk about the human cost of all these fucking fights. Like, you have this sympathy towards all the people who were snapped out of existence, but in South Africa, how many people did the Hulk and Iron Man kill trying to corral that dude? They pass it off that like no one hurt, but they did talk about it in the first Winter Soldier, I guess, where they were trying to do the Sokovian Accords, but that's not the same, right? Like no one's standing in front of Congress like Superman.
Here's the thing. I agree with that, like, okay, yes, there's a coherency in the first three films. I guess I should have spoken after that, because then, they cut Justice League and they're not making a part two anymore at the time, when Joss Whedon took it, and all the movies start doing their own things. Like Wonder Woman, I would say campy. Just like Peacemaker is, but it's less self-aware because it ruins its own ending. Maybe that's a studio decision.
Peacemaker and Suicide Squad completely go in with Whedon's vision of it. None of that shit goes in with Snyder's sort of progression through it.
I could say that. Yeah, I would agree with that. The second one with James Gunn more so, but because like when I think of Joss Whedon, at his peak, I need to see Firefly. But I think of the first Avengers, like it just, even though it was a little too funny for end of the world stuff, they still had a very funny dynamic that made me laugh more than some of the previous Marvel films before that. So I could see that, yeah, the Suicide Squad, but not David Ayer's Suicide Squad. I don't think that would fit
in short,
like
they're all solid flicks, and we're talking about like artistic choices of a comic book on things that don't matter. But I think there's so much childhood expectation that everyone wants it to live up to the idea of their imagined childhood, that no one wants it to fail. And then like you're always gonna piss some people off. The one thing from the fandom that I am excited about is Black Adam. And that's going to be, there was like a sneak peek, but it was like a mini like sizzle trailer where Black Adam touches down, and he basically eviscerates like the tactical squad that goes for him. He didn't eviscerates, right? Like he touches down, they fire on him, he gets one by the neck, and he basically shoots lightning through his hand, and like the guy turns to ash. His powers match Superman's in terms of strength and ability. He's like, Superman respects him to the point to where like he leaves him and Kahndaq alone, and Kahndaq basically becomes like a haven for depending on what you're reading, right? Kahndaq becomes a haven for like outcast supervillains under Black Adam's protection. And the thing that I'm also excited for there is that they're bringing in Dr. Fate into the DC universe with Pierce Brosnan playing Kent. I forget what Dr. Fate's actual name is, but yeah, man, fucking crazy. Wow. I love that.
So is that,
I absolutely love
in
that.
reference to Black Adam, or they're actually doing their own Dr. Fate movie?
No, Dr. Fate, Pierce Brosnan's Dr. Fate is a character in Black Adam's movie.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hella down for that.
Here's the other issue, right? Because Shazam and Black Adam are basically the antithesis of each other. You can't mix the Shazam movies in with the DC universe at all. It's fucking ridiculous, right?
It's honestly, yeah. Okay, so here's my opinion. I liked Shazam a lot. I think it had a heart, but it also yes, it feels like a Sam Raimi film, like early 2000s. Like it really doesn't mesh well. So if they make Black Adam badass and just beat the hell out of everybody,
he is badass.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I want to watch the trailer. I think I missed that one. But for Shazam, I just see him getting his ass beat like by Black Adam instantly. Like he's definitely going to need Superman's help.
In the Injustice timeline, right? Like Billy Batson Shazam gets killed by Superman. He's like the first fatality that kicks off that war.
Yeah.
Superman becomes a tyrant, right? Like that's the Flash. You've always been right about him. Fear him, right? Those are the survivors of the fucking war. I don't understand. I don't understand what they're trying to do. This is, it's really shitty because I thought we were past these like singular siloed films. You can't, in 2021, you can't make something and then pretend that these other films don't exist, especially if like they're coming from your box office. They're coming from your position of rights holder. You can't just ignore the fact that you made this name or that you have another film coming out, to the point where at the end of Snyder versus Justice League, they were going to put in Green Lantern, John Stewart, I think. And then they left it out because they were like, oh, we got this other movie we want to put him in. It's like, fucking put him in the goddamn film and find some way to tie it together later. Just throw him in there.
That's the rough part. The Snyder Cut, even now, still isn't truly the Snyder Cut. Like, it's not every idea he had. I'm not trying to diss on him. Like, Marvel and... I've loved Marvel and DC growing up just as equally. And both of the cinematic universes also have their faults. But for this... I don't know. I feel like I'm okay with Shazam, and I really can't. Oh, I remember my point. Sorry.
Okay.
Kevin Feige is the one leading the MCU. Like he was the one from the beginning, kind of like saying this is how it's going to go. Even if everything
Yeah.
was copy and pasted, but Zack Snyder, after he left, and because of a tragedy and because of it's tragedy and studio conflicts, I feel like, but no one took his place. No one truly took his place and saw his vision the way he wanted it, and so it just Joss Whedon clearly. So I feel like that's where it splinters
and
off.
that's where it becomes disjointed, right? When you have these two
Mhm.
series of universes, these two IPs, you have amazing actors and actresses on both sides. I got some problem with some DC casting, but whatever.
I'm curious about that.
I feel like the issues are with all the peripheral production and movie making sort of things, not necessarily with the IP. Like you've got a storyboard right here. You've got multiple fucking storylines to choose from, but the people who are handling the MCU are way more invested in like in lockstep with the singular vision, and like on the DC side you got a million voices pulling in a million directions and it just comes out
Yeah,
that way.
so
And I
much,
don't.
because like I wish it was more coherent, but see, like after the Flash trailer, my thought process is they're going to do Flashpoint clearly, and then they're going to hopefully have a vision for what the next thing is, because even around Shazam I didn't think they were done with the solo films. Like they had Joker come out, or I thought after that, I think Wonder Woman felt solo, because when they went to Wonder Woman 84, that feels like it's supposed to be its own thing, but it's a fucking mess. It's not good. I'm excited to see them splinter off and maybe get a little more credit that the DCs deserve, because they growing up, like their animated stuff, all of their content was top fucking tier. It made
It
you
was
think,
amazing.
and it put you on edge, and it was just so well done. Like for a kid show,
They had
that's a
the
gem. It's
for a kid
crazy.
show, they had the problem that I criticized MCU for. They just every episode they were fucking destroying the city. And I was just
Totally.
like, at least with
Superman.
the X-Men, right? They had the presence of mind to like take it into space or like do it somewhere else. But
Yeah.
like
Or there were
with the
mobs of people
super
hating mutants, you know what I mean? Like they had
yeah,
repercussions.
it was ridiculous. Yeah, they had the whole that first like Hugh Jackman X-Men was like the anti fuck these mutants, like these freaks, right? Like
Yeah.
that kind of disappeared. Anyway, what else has happened?
Rob
Facebook
Bat
is
Pattinson.
rebranding to
Oh, gross.
Metaverse. What did
I
you
was
say?
gonna say the Robert Pattinson, his name. You know how
Uh
people go
we've
Batfleck? Rob
yeah.
Bat Pattinson.
Did you
You
make
could
that
do.
up? Did you coin that?
No, I found it. I found
Okay.
it on Twitter.
Okay. I bring up Facebook and Meta and the metaverse because, well, this is exactly what's going to happen. Facebook's going to stay Facebook, Oculus is going to stay Oculus, and all that stuff. But
Mhm.
Meta is the umbrella company where all these side products
Mm.
will be nested under, right? And metaverse is basically the idea of Zuckerberg doing something in VR, right? He's building out the Ready
Yeah,
Player One ecosystem, which
and he
honestly
knows it
I'm
too. It's
excited for. He's doing a
I'm not
lot of
by
things
Facebook.
right.
Yeah,
He's doing a lot of things right in terms of like VR experience and like a coherent ecosystem. And
yeah, very
honestly,
innovative.
I trust Facebook to do it right in terms of like tying all the experiences together and making the barrier of entry low and adoptable for everybody. But a lot of the things that I've been watching recently, I'm a huge VR movie advocate, is VR films, and most of the VR
Mm.
films that you see are like short films, maybe a half hour, but it's an immersive
Mm.
experience inside the headset, and it's actually like really, really, it's a different way to tell stories. Video games are getting to this point anyway, where it's basically
Yeah,
quick time events and interactive experience. Less of a video game where you need to like fight against the clock to do stuff, but more along the lines of your perspective is a part of the narrative. I watched a movie called Battle Scar, right? And all the A-listers are
huh?
dropping down. Rosario Dawson narrated and acted movie called Battle Scar. It's about the 70s and like the start of the punk scene in New York, and these two Hispanic girls starting a punk band, and their road to discovery there. It's actually really good.
That's awesome.
This other
Yeah.
film I saw, the animation style plays into it. Gina Davis does this film called Dear Angelica. I'm pretty sure I've spoken about. It's actually a really
Mm.
heartwarming film about a woman who a woman who grew up watching her mother on TV, right? Like if Gal Gadot had a daughter and your mom
Yeah.
was Wonder Woman, you got to see her fly in space and do all these things and whatever. But now your mom is 90 in a nursing home and she's aging out, and you're stuck with all these memories of how all the people. It's really beautiful.
Wow.
And it's narrated by Gina Davis, I believe. Paper Birds is an amazing claymation style VR film, and it's one of the ones
Wow.
where like you're a part of it because you're like looking around for stuff. There's a moment in it too where they're like a child is lost in the woods, and you being like the spirit, your hands are flashlights, and you have to find the child and then like guide the child down the stream to, you know, civilization.
Oh my God.
It's cool.
It sounds clever.
Colin
I like that type of innovation. It sounds so unique.
Yeah, the movie stars have landed in VR, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. Colin Farrell has a project a few years ago called like Gloomy Eyes, which is really cool. It's like Tim Burton-esque, very macabre film, and basically the story is like human apathy has led to the sun going into hiding, and you know a war's broken out between the living and the dead. But it's
Oh my
like told
God.
from the perspective of like a child, right? Like the main
Huh.
characters are like these like this alive child and her dog and this like zombie child. And
I'm down
lastly,
for
you
that.
know, Elijah Wood has a film video game called Transference, and it's basically, you know, a family has been uploaded into the digital space. You see, and you're trying to piece together basically a VR not photo album, but like a VR educational tool, kind of like the Matrix. I know kung fu, but the file is like corrupted, so there are like ghosts in the machine, and you have to piece things together about what happened, and it's like really eerie without being like overly spooky and jumpy.
Huh.
So
I like
yeah,
that.
like VR films are, you know, the things that are being made right now are the things that I'm excited to consume a year from now. And I bring up Elijah Wood, the actor, A-lister, you know, Frodo, the,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh
all
yeah,
the
I
other
know
things,
Elijah Wood.
Sin City. Anyway,
The guy
he
from Wilfred.
was in a recent controversy surrounding NFTs.
Really?
Yeah, so he's really into, I guess he's really into crypto and NFT space, and he backed this project I think called Jungle Freaks. And it turned out that the artist in the past had some racist comics or comic strips made, and so Elijah very publicly dumps his NFTs like, I'm not a supporter of racism and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Elijah dumping it right on basically tanks the NFT, right? Like the, you know,
Good.
triggers this massive sell off and worth of whatever. Not condoning, not condemning, only because like if you, I'm not going to say the artist's name, you can look up the work yourself if you're watching this.
Mm.
But you know, these things in your past do have consequences in the real world, in the current world, and we're seeing them come to fruition now. But I did read the artist's justification for those old comics, and
Hmm.
it actually made him a pretty empathetic character in my mind.
Mm.
They have a Medium post again. You should check it out.
Don't let your kids watch it.
But basically, he was like, "Hey, man, so I was writing for Hustler, and Larry Flint's whole thing was controversy, and he was just like, the art strips were just as important as the naked ladies, to get people's
Mm.
attention, and
Wow.
you know, inspiring cultural commentary. And you know, I don't, he's like, I don't condone racism, whatever. And through that lens, I probably gave him more time than I should, but reading through that, it didn't come off as forced apology. It was like, hey, so
Mm-hmm.
I did these things, I drew that, let me give you the explanation why. And it's less so of a your chicken's coming home to roost, in my opinion, and it's more so a things in the 60s and 70s were different,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you know, and in the 80s
There's a
were
difference.
different. And
You could make
so
fun of
that
things, you know,
taken out of context, yeah, it might have been
in a
distasteful
different way.
then in a
Mhm.
different way, but now you're looking through it through the 2021 lens, and you're just like, no, fuck you,
Yeah.
canceled.
You cannot put that in a publication. I didn't know about that scandal. I didn't hear about that one. So that's surprising. I'm glad. I guess the NFTs. You said the NFT was taken down. He shut it down himself.
No, the NFTs and the arts still exist, but
Oh,
like it triggered this massive sell-off, so like now they're worth a fraction of what they used to be worth.
Well, I would agree with that. Dave Chappelle is getting that too. They're just products of a different time, and a different understanding. And with this new one, with a very contemporary, 2021 lens, it's you should be able to decipher the differences between offensive or whether you're being intentionally offensive or too, where's the line for you? Like where, if you were willing to draw something like this, I haven't seen the pictures, but something like this, what was beyond the line for you? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like what else?
Yeah, if
been
someone
shocking?
could pay you to do this, what else would they pay you to depict, right? And that's what
Yeah.
I struggle with. So it's the same thing where I'm like, I blame actors as much as I understand you're a struggling artist, you need a paycheck, but like if you don't have your pride, like what do you have, right? You'll be
Yeah.
paid to do anything. Can I pay you to put a camera in front of your face to smear feces on it? Like
Yeah.
where exactly is the line as
How
you
how much
had
money?
mentioned, right? Yeah, you have
I
a
agree.
price. Clearly, you have a price.
I also want to comment on the metaverse and Zuckerberg, the
Yeah,
Zuck,
go ahead.
that
Does
alien lizard alien fucker.
It's
I
really,
don't.
let me just fucking preface this. It's really easy to point a finger at the guy on the top of the mountain and be like, you're doing all these things wrong. But like, let's really poke into what exactly the problem Facebook is here to solve and how people are fucking using it poorly. Like all of the
Well,
things that people complain about may improve the quality of your life
like
drastically,
like the
drastically improve.
whistleblowing, like you remember the whistleblower about with from Facebook talking about that? Like I
What's
don't see
so I
how
the
pushing.
whistleblower for the API stuff or the most recent one, the woman in the product management role, the
Mm,
recent one, the
Facebook
woman who
page, the
went
blonde woman.
before, yep, who went before Congress.
Yeah.
Fair.
That's so, and before that, let's just throw that out the window. Before that, I was always uncomfortable with Facebook. Because they always pushed their notification, even on my phone, they pushed their notifications into different parts of my apps. And I was like, I don't like that. And all the posts I was getting weren't interesting to me because I try and avoid that hate shit. Like it doesn't make my life better. I have not used Facebook in so long. I've made one, but it's just rotting and it might have virtual dust on it. Like it's not, I'm not doing anything with it. I don't trust Zuckerberg with my information, just like I don't trust a lot of companies with my information. Does that stop me from using Google instead of Bing? No, they have a lot of information on me. I'm using Google more than anything, but
What is he doing with that information?
selling it to people, and I don't like that there's
What?
like a file
Okay.
selling it to
What does selling
advertisers,
it to people mean? Okay, selling it to
selling it to
advertisers.
advertisers that will
At the
then.
top of this, you just said I was getting notifications and ads that weren't relevant to me. The selling it to advertisers is, hey, I'm going to I'm going to point you in the direction of somebody who's in the market for what you're selling. And
Yeah.
so the advertiser one doesn't waste money showing a Vidal Sassoon ad to an 80-year-old bald man, and also does like so
Yeah.
those signals don't get mixed up, right? Because then you're wasting everybody's time and money.
Yeah, I guess fine. It's fine for advertisers then, but it's just weird then if the information. I don't know. I don't like a file of me being out there. I don't. That's. I guess I get touchy about that. And besides, if the information still isn't that helpful, like I'm still getting ads for things I've already purchased. Can we move on? Can we update it? Like that's it's nitpicks, but I still don't like the Big Brother thing. I think we're in that. You know what I mean? Like this is
I,
the environment we're in, and that's why
big
I don't
brother
want to.
big brother insinuates the government or someone is spying on you. One, guys, you're not that fucking impressive or important. I'm sorry to be the first one to tell you.
That's
Two,
not why.
there aren't enough personnel in the world to monitor you and the other like people that exist. Three, everything that they have up there, you've given to them. It's not like they've gone
Yeah.
in and like pulled shit out of your device, right? You're telling me where you live. You're telling me where you're eating. You're tagging and hashtagging shit. You're orchestrating your own tragedy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I think
And
it's misleading in the way that no one really. A, it's in the terms and service. No one in the world reads that, and
you don't need to read
and
that. That's doggy poo.
they're
That's
following every
such
click you make. So it's just like there is information about you, whether someone's directly watching you through a camera or not. You know what I mean? Like not literally, but
so that's like a nuanced conversation for another time, I
another
guess.
podcast.
But another pod, we should totally do. We're Warren and Aaron tech talk.
Yeah, talk
But
meta. Well, because
I
I
think
would
a
love to
lot
hear
of
your
it,
opinion about it.
a lot of it, in
even
my
more in
opinion,
depth.
boils down to accountability. People just want their shit to work, but they don't want any like ownership or accountability or understanding of how it actually connects in
Yeah,
the
that makes sense.
Internet of Things to other things, right? They're just like, oh, you're doing that? Like, of course they like people like it's and in terms, well, full warning, right? Or whatever. I work in tech. So I understand how these products evolve and like how feedback loops are made between like making it a little bit more efficient. Like, oh, no one's using this feature. Why? Well, people like land on this page and then like only 1% of people navigate to this thing and this, and maybe it's nested too deeply or like shit like that, right? Monitoring your clicks, like no one's watching how long you hover over the image of your ex, right? Like no one gives a shit about that.
Then they're advertising it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Just don't hit the like button while you're stalking. You'll be fine.
Fair. I guess that's fair. I don't really have a lot more to back up other than the uncomfortability of having a file on someone.
I understand
but again,
it. I get it. I
see,
totally
this
get
is the
it. But
thing.
it's like
There's
people
more-
are piling on, and I'm just like, will you let these people fucking do their jobs?
Yeah. Well, there's two people. There's two reasons also. Beyond that, I'm also skeptical. I always think there's going to be someone more conniving than I am at anything. So they could use that information in a way I'm not even fucking thinking of. And then B, specifically Zuckerberg, I'm not going to give him any like leeway. He's a fucking millionaire and he lost $6 billion in 6 hours when Facebook and Instagram went down.
Oh, I thought
so
you were
I'm just
talking
like,
about Elon. Yeah.
No. I'm just saying, like when his apps went down, that's what he lost, which means he's making more, 6 billion every 6 hours or something like that, and it's just crazy. I'm not going to give him any pity. Like
he's also not invented, but like the catalyst of Facebook has spawned other industries, other peripheral industries, right? This guy is like a market drive. People give Steve Cook. Was it not Steve Cook? Steve Jobs, Steve Cook. I've mixed Tim Cook and Steve Jobs.
That's not him.
Yeah, no, let's call him Steve Cook. People give those guys a lot of credit that should go to, honestly, in my opinion, like Zuckerberg. But that's just my
really. Or I mean, I guess you mean with their interface, like on their phones, or do you mean like because Jobs started before, like he still had his own innovation in some way, to some extent.
Sure.
I mean, he started in a garage. Like he's got to have some, he at least started at the right time,
Sure. Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have another.
Whatever.
I want your opinion on that.
All right. So let's do this. Well, okay. The last thing, all of the features, all of these protective features that you build into apps, that you build into the real world, that you build into your tech is to combat human shittiness, right? I shouldn't have to tell people to all extent. I shouldn't have to tell people like not to combat human shittiness.
You
shouldn't have to tell people not to do the awful things that they do online. And then when they do that, they say, "Hey, big brother Zuck, you should have foresaw that and stopped them from doing that." It's like, how the fuck we know? Like we just want to connect people together. We didn't know that you were going to foment an insurrection using our application. Like, holy shit, man. All right, fine. We got to deal with this now. Right, like,
well, that's when it gets dangerous, when like the wrong information starts generating its own like momentum in the app. But yeah, it's also the users that were definitely like in their own.
It's Facebook all the users.
Yeah,
right, and in the wrong hands, right? Like, let's say you get a bad actor, right? Zuck, knock on wood, dies in a plane crash, and then someone takes over who is not as connected to the culture of the company, right? Imagine a Trump or someone with that mindset in that position, right? And then now you've got these systems in place, and you're like, fuck. Now, like this asshole is gonna fucking.
That's a fear too. Yeah,
completely make us authoritarian. Whatever. We're so off
because like Trump got his own. Yeah, just briefly, Trump got his own app that he was like, "This is my social media," and I've saw people reviewing it, and he is the worst.
Making apps is hard.
Facebook. And he's worse than Facebook because he was like already like getting rid of.
He asked for your social security number.
Are you
to validate one of those? What I don't know whether it was Gab or something, but like they asked for all this information and then it wasn't even secure, so all that information leaked out.
That's horrible. I heard their
really
information
shitty.
leak. I didn't know the social security number was attached to it. Don't ever do
for
that
like
to an
a
app.
verification
job interviews.
check or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah.
Also, that is one other thing. I wish everyone online was actually themselves online. You know what I mean? I feel like then we get a lot less people saying evil shit if they were accountable for what they were saying. 12-year-olds can do whatever the fuck they want. Like,
the reason why Oculus is such a great ecosystem is primarily because it's tied to your Facebook, and people who buy it aren't the type of people who make fake Facebook accounts to use it. So it limits the bad actors that you get running around inside that space, right? Because like you're dealing with real people in a fake avatar. It's like internet anonymity is great. Like fake avatars, someone will tell you how they really feel through the veil of anonymity. But
that's great. Yeah.
If I take that away from you, you're much less likely to call me the N-word, right? You're much less likely to make this virtual environment toxic because, like, really, Linda? Is that what you really think? Linda from fucking Danville,
Accounting.
Pennsylvania? Yeah, like that. That you can't hide behind that, right? This isn't an anonymous message board, which is great. But given the backlash from people who, in my opinion, don't know what the fuck they're talking about, they've removed that Facebook authentication barrier to log on and use your Oculus. Yeah, so now it's like, oh great, the floodgates are fucking open now.
Yeah, it's just gonna get worse and worse.
It's gonna get worse. Just because
it's gonna be like chat roulette, you know what I mean? Just dudes
like
just
to
fucking
complain. Whatever. I've given a lot of innovating is hard, and I give them admittedly more leeway than I should, right? So if you have criticism, don't jump down my throat. That's my perspective.
I'll agree. Yes, they're definitely iconic in history. You know what I mean? Like they've earned and they've made their mark in technology and for the future. And I just hope it's for the better. That's all I worry about.
Well, that
Shang-Chi?
will bring us. No. Before we get into Shang-Chi, let's make a movie. We haven't done this in a while. We gotta shake the rust off.
Make a movie.
All right,
let's do it.
We're gonna keep this quick and simple then, because I don't know what movie we're gonna make, and I'm taking it into two roads, right? We can make a VR film, or we can make a superhero film.
Can you make a VR superhero film?
We can make a VR super.
Why do we do it? We go to Netflix. We get the budget. Netflix has a gaming side of their app now, I heard.
All right, VR superhero film. What is it about?
Are we going like DC, Marvel, or are we just going Iron Horse? So we're making our own hero.
It could be Image. Yeah, it's up to you.
Kick-Ass or something.
It's totally up to us. What do you think?
I want a new hero that isn't tied to anything, because I love have you seen Invincible?
Yes.
Oh, it's so good. But that's what I love. Like, it feels
a new universe
with Superman concepts and themes and stuff like that. But also, it's a new universe. You can do whatever you want with these characters. And that's a new universe.
Is this character Superman-esque, or are they like fallible? Do they have a lot? Like, is it someone who got an ability who is now learning how to use that ability to improve everyday life? Are they a villain, or is it someone who has like godlike superhero abilities? I like the simple superhero.
What is that to you?
That's somebody with like a really not even obscure power, but like not all that powerful power, right? Like X-ray vision, right? Like I can see through stuff, or I can see what's on the other side of blackjack cards. Right? I can see, if you're wearing a wire. I can see if you have a gun, right? Like I like that.
Okay, I thought you
because
meant,
then they're still
like man.
No, then they're still susceptible and mortal.
Okay, I like what?
No, that's what I meant by simple.
Oh, okay. I'm fine with that. I just don't know. I'm trying to think of what that ability would be, and I'm trying not to go to like just being super stretchy. You know what I mean? Because I like the idea that that you can.
I like the X-ray vision
around, like Mr. Fantastic or something. X-ray vision,
and I think X-ray vision is something that we could actually use in VR to tell a story, right? Because if we are the superhero from that perspective, right, then we can like change the veil. You're looking at someone, and then all of a sudden you trigger your X-ray vision and you see something subsurface.
I think I want to make it almost like a villain story, but with this concept, because what's up?
X-ray is the power.
I'd say so. I would say so, because I have an idea off of it. At first I was like, if it was a superhero and their only power was X-ray vision, where's the conflict? Where's the fight? I mean, I guess it could be a hand-to-hand combat fight or something, but what happens? Because it's a superhero movie, you got to have him fighting some antithesis or a random villain at the end.
Not necessarily.
If it's a comic book movie, I would say you got to have some sort of conflict.
It's
with
a
another
superhero
character.
movie. It's a hero movie. It's not a comic book movie. We don't have to have hand-to-hand. There'll be tense moments where he's like running from stuff or maybe like trying to break out of stuff, but like he's not like Jubilee, right? Like who's she fighting? Like,
yeah,
what situation is she getting out with that? Like nothing. Think about him like Jubilee.
Okay, but that's not a good start because who else? I mean, I know Jubilee, but who was quoting Jubilee? You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Jubilee hasn't even made it into an X-Men movie yet, an actual one. So
this is a new hero, not tied to anything. We're just telling this person's story. That's it.
Okay,
you're already thinking franchise.
I'm thinking superhero movie. All right, I guess you're right. I'm thinking franchise. But yes, I want X-Ray Vision because I want it to be, if it was superhero or supervillain kind of esque, I want it to be like this Vision. He's seeing more and more of everything, and it's giving him abilities, and maybe it's getting a little stronger throughout the film, but subtly. And you finally notice it's kind of interfering with his life. Like now he can't turn it off. Now it's like damaging his items because it's actual X-ray vision. It's like radiation in a way. So
it's radiation emanating from his eyes. I don't like that.
Yeah, like actual X-rays. No, but it's
you
can't see radiation. You can't see it. It will only affect him. He would see people, and then you'd be giving them what?
Like all Clark Kent's coworkers, female coworkers, have breast cancer. It's like our breasts have been exposed to 1,000 years of radiation because he's been.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? That's a great twist on that ability.
So
a man struggling with that, actually, not a Family Guy joke only.
I'm thinking Man of Steel. Remember when Clark Kent was young and he couldn't
control
his
powers?
He was struggling, something similar. All right, cool. Subtly gets stronger. X-rays interfering with his life. This is ultimately a villain story. I say that maybe the VR opens and it dissolves from black to the scene, and he finds himself in a medical examiner's room. And the doctor is talking directly to him, and he says, "Mr. So-and-so, I know this is hard to digest, but please stay with me. You have an inoperable brain tumor, and it's only growing." And that's what's causing the X-ray vision catalyst.
That's funny. I like that. Yeah. But so can he, every time he uses the ability, gets it grows a little? Like like it lessens the time or something? Like the more he uses it?
No. So he's living on borrowed time anyway, and the ability gets stronger. He knows that the brain tumor is getting bigger because the ability gets stronger. It's not when he uses it, it grows. His ability gets stronger because the tumor is getting larger.
All right.
Like it triggered some infernal part of the brain that like triggers this ability that he didn't know that he had.
So he's struggling with that throughout most of
that
the
makes
film.
him a villain. And
yes.
So not less a villain, more of an anti-hero. He's trying to get his life in order. He's stealing stuff, right? Using his X-ray to like see where money is and take items and things, petty things at first.
This is why I'm curious, because I'm like, he can see the money's in the ATM. And that's it. Like he can't do anything to get past the door of the ATM. You know what I mean?
But I mean, everyday people also carry valuables on them that are really inconspicuous and you wouldn't notice if you didn't.
Yeah, he could be a pickpocket.
I think you're oversimplifying this here.
Okay. He gave a man X-ray vision and called it superhero.
Super villain.
Super
villain. All right. So he's got this. He's basically got borrowed time. He's got family that loves him who are worried about finances, right? Doctor says get your affairs in order. And now he's just jaded. What would you do with X-ray vision?
To steal money?
Looking, that's way too singular. That's one aspect of it, but like, yeah, what would you do
with X-ray vision? I don't know. I feel like you're just looking. Maybe he's finding like the weaknesses in buildings like that have like something pricey that he could grab. Like he's looking with X-ray vision and he's finding out where's the weak spot. Like where is there? He can stake out places before he even enters them. So maybe that'll help him case a joint and then get in and out as efficiently as possible, more than anyone else could. He can even see like shit under the floor. I think that would be an efficient use of that. I'm struggling to think of anything else. I really want to do that radiation thing. I Really,
Do you
like he
want it?
stares at a
Every
wall
time he
long
uses
enough
it,
and the wall starts getting weaker and weaker and he crumbles. Like it's not a strong
I don't think
ability.
X-ray
You have
works.
to-
I don't think X-ray can deteriorate a wall. It does
if
something. It
he's-
changes tissue.
Oh shit. Well, if he stares at it for a really long time, like days on end, and then it just gets
Okay,
weaker.
so oh, here we go. We have our villain arc bend. So he's with his X-ray vision, he's discovering the world, like finding out new possibilities and discovering things of like secret trap doors or like nested hiding spots for cash and you
Yeah.
know armed people. It's like, why have you brought a gun? It's like, how did you know I brought a gun? But at the same time, he also discovers that using this power, he goes back to the doctor for a checkup and he's like, wow, there are x-rays in this room. Like we've got like a really high radiation fucking thing. And he discovers that he can harm people with his vision.
Yes.
So he goes full vendetta on like
I love
people
it.
who've wronged him.
I want that really bad. And also, I thought
Under
right,
the
he could do it for
pretense
like cartel.
For the cartel? Where is this
Not
going?
cartel. No, I meant to say like a mob, like mafia or something. I just couldn't think of a name. But basically, like if like there's a gang and their stash is under the club, he can see that. He can see when it's empty and no one's in there. He can just go in and go in.
So he meets with people who have wronged them under the auspice of, I want to make amends before I die, and the entire time he's just x-raying the fuck out of them, giving them, you know, unspeakable radiation poisoning.
Yeah.
But he also he goes to the local, he doesn't live in a great area, and he goes to the local gang leader boss and he says, I can do this for you, and he displays his power for them like Walter White did, right?
Yeah.
And they figure out how
Goddamn
they
right.
can use it to their benefit, right? And all he asks is for a small percentage.
Yeah.
So now he's
I mean, a
working
pretty
for
big
them,
percentage.
whether at cards, whether it's, you know, protection, he's basically working from them while getting worse.
I like that. The only thing I would change is I want him to be working for a big sum. I want him to be like, just like Walter White on death's door, and that's pushing him to ask for bigger things that, you know, because he's got the balls to do it now. He doesn't have much time left.
So he's like, give me all that money.
Give me a good chunk. I want 50% for what I'm offering. No one else can offer it. And they're like, motherfucker, you telling us, you know, you did fucking, you know, you're telling us we can't. Not the mafia, but you get my point.
You know what? The saving grace of this guy is he gives them all radiation poisoning.
Yeah, he's slowly doing it to them throughout the film.
So
that's the enemy. I like that.
Inside this VR space, our character only has a voice. Who is voicing the main character?
Oh, we don't see his face? Oh, right, it's VR.
It's VR.
Okay.
You are the main character. You're walking through this world.
If it's voice now I'm thinking about it. I was about to say McAvoy, James McAvoy, because he has good facial expressions, but that's not gonna. I mean, as a voice actor, he's still good. But now I'm thinking about who emotes really well through their voice.
So
specifically for that.
It's funny that you brought that up because I bought the Sandman Audible because James McAvoy was voicing it. It's basically like an ASMR experience for an audiobook.
Nice.
Not that it's not that great. It's I put more expectation on it, on that experience, but you still have like McAvoy whispering in your ear as if he's like the Sandman. Yeah, it's really,
that's great.
It's a cool experience. It's a higher quality audiobook, but TLDR, McAvoy is a great choice for this. He's somebody who might enter the VR space. He's already playing with like immersive stuff. So making this film is going to take more time than it will cost money because there are a lot of people who can make something like this. So I guess we spend our wham budget on the actor and the actress, or just the main actor.
I guess just the main actor, and then we can. So we're gonna have to find someone affordable for the boss leader.
You don't, dude. I mean, honestly, since they're all essentially NPCs and avatars, they could all be voiceover artists, right? And most of these VR films are heavily carried by one star.
I don't know why. For some reason, I thought it was going to be like like that. You can use 360 cameras to record, so I thought it was going to be like that type of film. So it's all generated.
The aesthetic, the visuals are animation, but it's like it's real world animation. In real world meaning
pretty close.
It's more like GTA versus a claymation animation.
Totally.
Right? It's not like this like we can play with visuals. I don't know what the visuals look like, but it's more animation versus real world, because in VR for real world films shot in 360 in VR, they are not there yet. But the best VR film animation, the best VR films are all animations. I'm being serious.
I love that though. I didn't see that coming. Okay.
The quality is
I
really
would.
bad.
Well, I'm a
360
fan of
capture.
animation. Yeah, I imagine you have to be
Okay.
like if it's a live action 360 camera, you have to get the timing perfect. Like it's a theater play, but if it's not, if it's a little off, then it just looks awkward and you missed it. I imagine.
You could fake it with stuff and hide things, and yeah, but it's still not as good as a CGI generated VR experience. Nowhere near.
I'm a huge fan of animation. Like there's a lot of things I've seen in animation that you just can't do in film as badly as I want to see it. But so I'm down for that. Animation, here for it. And I guess it would be just the lead star. It would just be McAvoy, I assume.
I think McAvoy would be on
sticking to?
board with this. Yeah, I think
Oh,
that's
hell
actually
yeah.
a really good choice.
He loves unique shit like this. He can play he can play a good or a bad role. You know what I mean? No,
And
and I don't mean like in performance. I mean like evil character or a malicious. You know what I mean? Malicious character.
And since it's only voice, we can work around his schedule.
Yeah.
We don't have to conflict with any projects he's got. We don't require him to be anywhere specifically, right? We'll
can just
create
call
the
him.
experience, and then we'll bump out the recording in like 2 days. We'll pay you a lump sum.
Hell yeah.
So what are we calling this?
I want the word sight in it. Is that weird? I don't
No.
want
I like
just
the
the
word
title
sight.
to be okay. I don't know what else is around that word, but I'm thinking.
Remember, he's got a fatal medical issue that's eating away at him, but also giving him this power.
Death in sight. Okay.
Sights unseen.
It sounded better in my head. Sights unseen. No, because everything's kind of. Oh no, I see what you're saying. Sights unseen is good, but then I think of like tourism for some reason. Sight. Just call it sight. Just call it sight.
Sight. Just call it sight. What about a gift? Gift of sight.
I like a gift of sight. I don't know something about the cadence of that. A gift of sight.
The gift of sight. All right. The gift of sight. I like it.
The sequel would I would like to plunge
what sequel?
The sequel
He's dead.
into garbage. No. Oh, okay. Well, if we bullshit it, then remember Jumper? How there were like more jumpers in that world.
Yeah.
I want there to be more sights in that world, but like they're not gonna last long.
Maybe we discover his doctor had implanted him with this. The doctor's the fiend who did that. Yeah.
Yeah,
and the doctor has just been monitoring the results. Like, oh, and this guy got fucking X-ray vision. All right,
I've been your primary doctor since birth.
We have our first Wham's first VR film about a man who Wham's first VR film from the first person perspective of the main character, where you come to in a doctor's office and you get really bad news that you have an inoperable brain tumor that is just slowly growing, and eventually you're going to become unfunctional and it's going to kill you. But as you leave that and you're coping with all those things and dealing with your family and getting your finances in order, you discover that the tumor putting that pressure on your brain is also giving you the ability to see through material, right? It's giving you an X-ray ability to which you use that power to benefit yourself. You also discover that that power causes other people harm, and you start to use it in a way to harm people who've done you wrong, but also harming bad people. You're not a hero, you're not a villain, you're just somebody who's using this to better their personal situation.
Yeah.
And you use it to get yourself a lump sum prior to your own passing, culminating in the fact that you've completely taken all of the bad actors out of your crappy neighborhood by helping them and simultaneously hurting them before you pass. This first person perspective VR film is an animation, and it's starring the voice of the actor James McAvoy, and the film is called Gift of Sight. Runtime about 30-45 minutes. I think it'll be a good
gift of sight.
This will get us into the festival circuit.
I love what I'm seeing. I love what's going on right now.
Because I think people will be interested to see and hear the immersive environment we built, and also James McAvoy's silky smooth voice in your ear isn't bad either. I think we've got a hit on our hands. That's our movie.
For Oscar bait, you know, like to be in the running for the Oscars, we'll send everybody an Oculus in addition to the copy of the.
That's a
the
good
movie.
bribe. If they don't already
Mhm.
have one, but that's a good bribe. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right. I like this one. We nailed this one.
All right. Same. This is the passion project, right? We don't really want to care. We're not going to make any money off of this, right?
No,
This is just money straight out the door. Okay.
Just passion. Yeah, pretty much. All artists struggle with this.
And now that we have this X-ray character in his own isolated universe of misery, we should go back to the MCU and review the film. We're getting into movie review. Shang-Chi.
Oh yeah, that's what this is.
Shang-Chi. Wasn't that what we met to talk about? Shang-Chi is a great film in my opinion. I really, really liked the characters. I love being based in the Bay Area. I liked seeing a lot of things that I pass by pretty regularly. That's
Same.
always fun, right? When they film something in your city. I was hoping that I was like, oh, maybe I'll know some extras and whatever. Like I didn't see anybody I recognized, but
like the bus scene going down the streets and SF, that was awesome.
Exactly.
Recognized a lot of spots, and it wasn't even real too, like for most of it.
Oh, of course, they're not like flipping a bus over and sliding it down the fucking thing. That's not happening.
Well, some of this crashing with the cars looked pretty on point, but I guess I meant specifically like how they shot the fight scene in like their own rig. Like it was like the rig for the bus was where they shot the fight scene, like just hanging in front of a blue screen. I don't know. I liked that.
The story of Ten Rings, basically his dad and the trained assassin, right? They did the backstory and how you're able to have these skills pretty well.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was too crazy. The thing that I had a problem with was, you know, this character, the original Ten Rings, has been shaping history right under everyone's noses for basically all of human civilization.
Evidently 4,000 years. Like I agree with you on this.
It would be hard for me to believe that Fury would have no knowledge of this person or the existence of the Mandarin Dragon, right? Like these people like allude to it, but like you're leaving them alone, right? Because at that point, Wong just basically at the end, right? Just like, hey, you Ten Rings? Okay, yeah, come, we need your help, right? Like it's that easy to pull this person out.
Like,
you know, shrouded in magic. I understand all that stuff, but at the same time,
did Strange know? Or sorry, did Nick Fury know about Strange? Actually, now I'm thinking about it, like he never went to him to recruit him or spoke to him one-on-one. I think.
No, he probably knew of Strange's mentor, but again, they never talked about it. But at least they went back and visited in the timeline, right? Like Banner went back to try to get the time stone.
Oh yeah, and they talked. Yeah, and he talked to the Tilda Swinton. I can't for some reason I can't remember the name of that character
name.
But Tilda Swinton, she kills it as always. But I think the 4,000 years, because that's what I thought. That's what they said. Like he was alive that long in the movie, and at some point in the movie after that, I was like, wait a minute, he's been 4,000 years old. Like, like he's not. There's no way he's that old. And I get the rings were doing it. But it's just like they didn't need to do that. I mean, I get that the rings were a powerful weapon from ancient history, but still, I wish it was more of a lineage thing. I wish they passed it down in their family. And also, they're technically bracelets, but whatever. I am okay. I'm not okay with the time, but I am okay with how the dad interacts with the son, like as a villain, and how you see him kind of change. I like that. I was fine with that.
The Ten Rings that are in my recollection of, you know, Saturday morning cartoons, were on the Mandarin, who, you know, I believe like becomes the dragon at some point.
I don't know that part.
Iron Man is supposed to be this person's primary nemesis, right?
Yeah.
And the only time they interacted was when Sir Ben Kingsley's character pretended to just like uproot him and change his life.
But you mean the Trevor Slatter?
Yeah, that, which I really enjoyed his contribution to this film, even though it was completely unnecessary. All it did was tie the movies together.
Pretty much. That scene was very forced to me. Like it was like this. The reason for this scene is to say, keep going, movie. We don't know how to get out of this one. Like, so because he has this magical like talking Furby dog that can just like work and like tell them exactly where to go when they're driving through their Subaru, in the middle of the forest. It just, that part looked like a commercial. But I thought Trevor Slatter was funny. I did not like his part in it, being in it, because it just feels like a very loose connection. You know what I mean? It felt like wasted time, like something. We already have another funny character with Aquafina. That's
problematic.
She's tagging along for no. Wait, why is that problematic?
So
sometimes I don't know.
No, there's a whole controversy with Aquafina. I'm from New York. She's from New York. I understand where she's coming from, but she made her bones on YouTube, right? Doing YouTube comedy, YouTube rap. But really, she was like, and I feel this too, she's kind of like parodying Black culture, right? Like the Asian doing the Black thing shtick. When really she doesn't talk like that at all.
Have you seen Just Kidding films?
No.
They do the same thing. Like they are their culture and they make fun of it because of, I guess, people in their life, but then they really exaggerate it. So it's like, where is this line?
So the whole controversy, well, not even controversy, right? It's like very visible. You can check it out on her YouTube videos. And then like recently someone in another film had asked her to portray a traditional Chinese or Korean accent. I'm not entirely sure. And she said, no, I won't be a caricature, or I refuse to be a caricature of like this culture. And it's like, wait a second, you've been a caricature of my culture this entire time. You didn't have a problem with it. Like that's actually how you got famous. So seeing her in stuff, no, Aaron.
Oh, okay. Just making.
Stay with me.
I'm with you. I'm just for a second I thought it was.
She's never worn blackface, to my knowledge. She's never worn blackface. But is it the same if I like put on baggy shit, a knitted cap, and like pretend to rap and like draw my R's and talk with an accent? That right? That's not blackface, but like that's not who you are.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So when she was asked about doing the accent for a traditional Asian character, she said no, because she doesn't want to be a parody, which I respect and I understand, but like you had no problems parodying my culture. So whenever I see her and stuff, I'm just like, you couldn't cast anybody else. All right. Like, it didn't turn me off, but it's like I associate that with her in my mind.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's hard to separate the art from the artist. But I didn't even know she did YouTube videos. I saw her in Raya and the Dragon. She was the dragon. She wouldn't shut the fuck up. I think she's annoying. I think she's annoying as a comedic character.
Annoying as a comedic character as well.
And this is like knowing that she came from YouTube makes so much fucking sense now. But with her acting, but with Shang-Chi, I thought she was like the most reserved she's ever been that I've seen her, and it was fine. But you could tell. Also, props to the studio for having, or the director for having the balls to just make them human beings and make them friends. Like that's great. I'm so glad, but it took so long. I'm so glad they did that. But you can tell Awkwafina is just tagging along with Shang-Chi because Shang-Chi's not that funny or interesting. He's cool. He's really badass, and he's got some funny one-liners. But other than that, the comedy of the film really hangs on Awkwafina. And I'm like, why is she still here?
I don't know that they needed her, if I'm being
exactly
honest. I didn't know that they needed that character in there.
They felt,
and also her. Like the character in the fighting, right? Like I always have a hard time. You got these like trained mercenaries in this like whole magical village that have been fighting with dragon scales their entire life, and you're gonna somehow survive this, and then not only survive but like make a significant contribution like that. When I see that in movies, I'm like, oh my god, really? But like you understand it. You understand it.
Yeah, you understand the train of thought, but honestly, it's all about the execution for me. So having her train with arrows like for a couple days and then have the killing blow go to her, I was like, well, why didn't it go to the sister? Why didn't the sister have more impact? It's her fight. What the fuck? Awkwafina shouldn't even be here. And where's Trevor Slatter? Like, where is he just hiding under a corner? I forgot what he was doing in the fight.
Oh no, he was pretending to be dead, right? Like the fucking right. He was like laying on, which is smart.
You're right.
Which is smart. But I appreciated the fighting in 10 Rings between the wind, like very airbender, and then the 10 Rings. I still don't properly understand how the 10 Rings work, right? I'm always looking for a Tony Stark level understanding, and they alluded to that at the end scene when they were sitting around and Banner was like, welcome to the freak show. He's like, I don't understand where this thing predates what the stones. I was just like, we have no idea how these work, but like, keep doing good and, we'll call you when we need you.
So there's no allusion to it in the film, but I feel like the reference for the 10 rings, and I have mixed feelings on how the powers of those are used, because they don't explain a lot of how they are used. They're just more like giant slinkies that can be whipped around at no matter what and do whatever you want. You can stay in the air whenever you want.
They're like mentally controlled as well. Like they can form pretty much an impenetrable barrier around him.
Yeah.
Like they can. Whoever's wearing that is basically indestructible and immortal.
Yeah, they are immortal because the dad was like alive for 4,000. I thought I heard this theory that it could be the reason they're so big, the rings, because they're on his forearms, are like maybe they're a Celestials or an Eternals, not like the Eternals, the movie that just came out, but like there were bigger ones like Thanos, and like those could be his rings.
No, they're all Thanos wouldn't have let those rings go.
He had gems.
The Eternals. I see this tying into the Eternals absolutely, even though I don't remember the end screen other than Wong being like, hey, we need your help.
I don't think there was one. I thought that was
it. There were two. It had two end screens. It had that one with Wong, and then it had another one where his sister becomes like the Black Clan leader. You remember that?
Yeah.
She rebuilds the hideout and becomes the leader of that like villainous group. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but there was no real like welcome to Spider-Man No Way Home, welcome to whatever. But because Wong is there and Wong is a present character in Doctor Strange's life, we might see 10 rings helping to corral some of these Spider-Verse villains.
That would be so cool. Like I know we might. Jackie Chan's, I hope so, because Jackie Chan's stunt team, like his helped work on the fight scenes for Shang-Chi, and I think that's the biggest highlight of this movie is their action.
The fight scenes were great.
Best in the MCU. I love old it felt like Jackie Chan at some points, like with how he's using the coat to like wrap around and play and like throw his enemies around. I was so
the bamboo skyscraper, that was very Jackie Chan, right? Fighting on that like catwalk skyscraper, absolutely.
Very fun. I loved that so much.
The visuals of it in the fight ring, like there was honestly not too much in the movie that I was like, I need to suspend belief. I mean, it's a superhero film, you suspend in belief to begin with, but like that's a leap, or that's that's ridiculous. I didn't really find too much of that. I did think that it moved way too fast while at the same time being way too long. I don't know how you rectify that, because there was nothing really I would cut.
I agree with that though so much. Like walking out, I was like, why did that feel longer than it was?
Yeah,
like I don't know, something about 2 hours is normally fine, but for some reason it just felt like it dragged. I don't know, like there was sometimes there was obvious writing, of course, like Awkwafina's first lines, like, oh, we've been friends for like 10 years, right? It's just like, it's a little obvious at points.
Also, I feel like, because this is an predominantly Asian cast, you do have to do some of the culturally significant backstory and family moments, right? That insight into family life, right? Like that I don't get a peek into because I'm not Asian. I was like, they sit around the table just like I do, like I don't fucking, that sort of stuff. I think is important for people to see and to normalize inside. Like
it should be.
These heroes. Yeah, Shang-Chi as a character, I liked his character before he even put on the 10 rings, right? Like I was rooting for this guy because he felt very like figuring it out just like the rest of us.
Very much so. I liked that a lot. Even like when they were like, I wasn't in love with the scene, but I've laughed openly. I thought it was great when in the beginning of the movie, it's Awkwafina and Shang-Chi and they're having like dinner with their friends. And they're just talking about their lives and shooting the shit. And then they're like walking down an alleyway and they're like, man, they always think, we're still like kids or something. And they're like dressed like exactly like, like very chill and just like sweats and shit for like a fancy restaurant. It's just so funny. I think I do like Shang-Chi's character. I do. I just think the producers or the studio was like, we got to force Awkwafina with him in this whole adventure. Not only because, we have Awkwafina, but because I think Shang-Chi isn't as funny. You know what I mean? Like he's not like snarky like I don't know. I guess Tony Stark, but I want to make that comparison. There's like Doctor Strange is a little snarky, but not even in his own movie he's snarky. He's just
he doesn't have jabs. He doesn't have like sharp dialogue, right? Like that's not a part of Shang-Chi's character. And honestly, you wouldn't want a Tony Stark with 10 rings, honestly, because that'd be scary. That'd be scary. You want not like a docile person, but you want somebody who's clearly on the side of good wielding these things.
For sure.
Because the dad back in like 4,000 years prior did a really good job. They did a really good job of displaying how brutal and how powerful the 10 rings were, cutting a path throughout history. I thought that was a really great montage in storytelling. And the mom's ability to sort of temper that with her martial arts style made sense to me as much as a comic book story can make sense. And
for sure.
The anxiety of the dad having the mom cast out because of his, exploits felt like a good draw. I don't know why. They probably said it. I overlooked it. I don't know why the demons started calling out to him now. But throughout history, it's been calling out to various people. I don't know why it's doing it now. But
I thought it was just through the rings. That's how they were getting him. But I don't remember the explanation anymore either.
It's probably something to do with the snap. Everything is coalescing around Thanos' snap, right? Like generating all that energy. But I don't understand. The thing that I had a problem with story-wise is my dad is here. He is okay with the fact that I ran away, and he wants to go get my mother back, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with him. I'm not going to I don't know why they had this initial headbutting thing. Like he's clearly not going to kill you, right? He doesn't treat your sister great. He's basically treating your sister as a second-class human just because she's a female. But you can do a lot more if with the same way that Black Widow said, with your hand on the wheel than you can if you're not even in the car, right? The whole maze thing, literally car thing. How did 10 rings cut through there, right? This magical maze that would kill you. I mean, he's got the 10 rings, he could do it, but how did he bring a fucking army full of people in? I don't understand it. But
that means everyone had to have followed the path or cut down the trees. But
he probably just cut down the trees and just buzzed right through it.
I wish they showed it because then I would have felt would have felt something. You know what I mean? Like it feels like this movie has emotional beats, but it doesn't feel like it really dives into them. I don't know. I liked the struggle with the dad, and as he's going through his crime exploits, or revenge exploits, he beats up the crap out of these members in this club, and his son's right there in the room. I like stuff like that, but I just I feel like they didn't really dive into it, a whole lot.
His son got taught this martial art in less than a week, and
he looked young to master it.
To take the rings off of his dad in that time period. Again, I didn't have a problem with that, but in hindsight, I'm like, that's a bit much. Especially because your aunt has been here practicing this entire time, right? And she just got annihilated by this guy.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but these
he got knocked into
for us.
Right. Yeah, he got knocked into the water so hard at one point with one punch, and I was like, he's dead. There's no way he's coming back up. And
that was
an anime moment
too. That was the other thing too, right? Like you don't have any powers, and you're taking on 10 rings, and he basically collapsed your chest, right? Like the dragon scale could really protect you that much. I don't know. No. Yeah, it's
plot armor again. That's literally plot armor.
Plot armor.
More things are doing it.
That's exactly what that is. With that said, I don't think I would recommend anybody to see Shang-Chi. Mm-hmm. And inside the MCU, I would rank this definitely within the top 5 of the MCU movies, even though I'm pretty snarky about a lot of the stupid stuff. But I have that same criticism of Doctor Strange, which is my favorite, and of Black Panther, which is a close second. This one, I would put Endgame at 3, and then I would put Shang-Chi probably at 4. I really like this film. Yeah. And with that said, I'm going to give it a 92.
Really? Oh, damn. Yeah. That's high. That's high as shit.
It's entertaining. It ties in well, and it's not like everything you go for it has. and there's nothing really crazy off-putting.
I would agree with that. But what I look for in my movies, superhero or independent, I want something to stand out to me. The action is fantastic. That stands out. The story, I forget a lot of the beats, honestly. And nothing really like stuck with me as so hard. Even freshly seeing it. Some of the moments were funny. Trevor Slattery shouldn't have been in it. They should have found a different way into the forest. And yeah, it almost becomes like a Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball fight. You know what I mean? Like it's hand-to-hand combat and they're just throwing
well
ki blasts at each other.
Yeah.
Very fun. Hell yeah. Is that enough to sustain the entire thing for me and go back and watch it again on the 12th when it comes to Disney Plus? Probably not. Maybe I'll just skip to the action scenes alone, honestly.
Yeah.
But I can't, probably won't sit through the whole 2 hours again. I was going to give it like 75 to 80.
Wow.
And I don't think that's a diss.
Pick a number.
79. I'll give it 79.
79.
Because I don't think, C is failing in America. I don't think it's that, or no, it's not. But I don't think it's bad. Well, then it's not failing. See, it's just a fine movie. It's a bare bones fine movie. It gets the job done. You're entertained. It's just probably not the most memorable, but I will agree in this phase 4 of Marvel, I think it's the best one so far. I haven't seen Eternals, but I think it would beat that.
I don't think that Eternals going to be all CGI, and I don't think that this. I'm not going to go back and watch the full 2 hours, but this is absolutely a film where I'm going to watch a lot of YouTube scenes and snippets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I definitely, there are a lot of like favorite parts and interactions and like fights and moments in the film, especially around the final fight with the dragons and like, when they start to mix off the rings and like, I've got half of the rings and you've got the other half of the rings kind of deal. I didn't know that Jackie Chan's team choreographed the fights, but the fights are a spectacle, man. They are fucking eyegasms. They're really cool.
Yeah.
And that's before he even gets superpowers. So I'm just kind of curious what happens moving forward.
Yeah, because like if you don't get that team and the cameramen to work on the same stunts and fight scenes he did in this for like a Spider-Man movie or a Doctor Strange movie, you're fucked. I don't think his action's not going to hold the same weight if you can't shoot it the same way. And that might be a difficult thing going forward with Marvel, because now we all want this like cinematic difference between films, but then you have to combine that. You have to think about combining. That's the hard part if you can't really balance everybody the way they were initially.
I think Shang-Chi is a good cap on the next iteration of villains coming, otherworldly villains coming to what I perceive to be the MCU. Not just like, I think Spider-Man multiverse villains are going to be fun, but they're not like world ending, maybe like a Galactus would be, or like some Fantastic Four-esque villains, or maybe even like a Morbius. But I do think that this is going to, if there's another Shang-Chi movie, which I don't know that there will be,
I hope so.
I wouldn't be surprised, because I would actually absolutely make a point to go see this in theaters if it comes out with a part 2.
I would agree. And I gave it a 79, verging on 80, but because it's a great time. It is a fun ride, and that action is just unforgettable. I loved a lot of that.
You know what?
I may not see it a second time, but I loved seeing it the first time.
I'm not going to walk back my rating, but I'm definitely going to play into the fact that post-COVID, this is one of the first films that I did see in the theater. So it might have added to my pleasant surprise to be like, all right, well, we're going to go sit here and watch this thing. I'm just happy to be out amongst the living again. But I don't think that had any sway on it. It might have impacted me differently seeing it at home versus seeing it in the theater. But I
looks
think
better in theater.
It's a pretty good film. 92. Don't expect to walk away with some major epiphany, but it, in terms of like an action film, especially a modern action film, it ticks all the right boxes.
I would agree.
With that said, we're gonna wrap this bad boy up. As usual, I'm Warren, that's Aaron, and we're probably gonna do a few more of these before the new year. We should actually get working on a Christmas episode. Do you think Die Hard 2? Yeah.
Okay. Die Hard 2. Does it happen at Christmas though?
Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you later.
Didn't say no.